Hello and welcome everybody. Well, the elements have conspired against us, but we've still managed to get here just about. Welcome to the finals of XEUCF 2021 here in a very, it is absolutely soaked in Bruges, here in Flanders, in Belgium. 3 finals to come after 3 scintillating bronze medal matches. Day finishes with the women's final. The open final is up next, but we kick things off, getting it underway with the final in the mixed division with GRUT from the Netherlands taking on Salaspils from Latvia. Welcome everybody to ulti.TV's coverage of the extended European Ultimate Championship finals. For all of our crew here, my name is Benjamin Rees and I am delighted to be calling this game alongside Hannah Pendlebury. Morning, Hannah. Is it still the morning? Honestly, everything's such a breakneck pace. I can get just about worked out where I am.
It's okay, Benji. We've got this. We're all good. It is indeed 11:15, more or less Central European time, whichever time zone you are tuning in from there. We've had loads of international action all, well, I say weekend. It's a 4-day tournament, all tournament long, as we get the action underway here. GRUT with the disc on offense.
So Benoit looks underneath. Here's Chris Harris, fakes deep, finds Tom Blasman, who's already integrating himself as a key cog as part of this GRUT offensive line. Benoit, always recognisable with that sleeve on his right arm. Floor Coularts swings to Blasman. Blasman towards the far sideline. Here's Minard trying to squeeze it down into a narrow window. Finds Chris Harris at the back cone. Brilliant hold to start this game from GRUT. They looked so untroubled.
I think untroubled is exactly the perfect word for that offense, Benji. They just looked calm, confident. Some moments where perhaps the spacing of GRUT wasn't quite so nice, but nice and casual and a calm, steady way to get this game going. But both of these teams really like to play this sort of like indoor style of outdoors. Nice and smooth though on that one, as you say. GRUT looking to bring in some newer, younger faces. I say younger.
Well,
can they get any younger?
Well, this is the thing. They have brought in some younger faces. They are focusing on bringing some younger players through in what is a much larger GRUT squad than we've seen. But there are also some bigger, older additions. You know, looking down the roster, looking at players like Chris Harris, of course, caught that first goal, and Joran Mossink as well. I mean, they are beefing up for a real one at the World Club Championships next year out in Ohio. Here's the first offensive point for Latvia's Salaspils. And Orlovskis underneath finds Yanis Bernans, a real renaissance man in Latvian Ultimate, does a little bit of everything on and off the pitch. And he gets the disc back from Orlovskis now, looking downfield, just happy to work it around the back at the moment. There's not a huge gainers available. Squeeze that one into a tight window. Santa Sinitsa was the target, but good pressure from GRUT. Draws the game's first turn. And we talked about Tom Blasman on the O-line. Here's his brother Matt. Goes across to Epstein. Low release, going to ground, really strong hands there from Alina Wilhelm. Faking, again trying to squeeze it down that narrow line, but Blasman toes it in effortlessly. Certainly a lot more effortlessly than I made that sound.
Yeah, you put more effort in
than he did. It's the way it goes sometimes. Clearly my voice is at the end of a tournament weekend as well. Going to be a stoppage downfield as Epstein has the disc checked back in. Turning around, looking, finds Lola Dam, who so often is the engine of this D-line, both in generating the term and then helping to grind the disc down the fields afterwards. Epstein with a shot to who else but Lola Dam, and GRUT getting on top early in this one for a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, Antigana, so they're just caught sleeping on the mark, face marking on the front of the end zone, and Dam just puts up the arm and snatches that one out of the sky. But interestingly, when we saw Salaspils come out yesterday in the mixed semi-final against Puti from the Finland, they kind of played a little bit of dude ball to get themselves started for their first offensive point. Shame to see the turnover there, but great work from the defensive pressure. And a clean defensive break for GRUT. They're putting their stamp on this match, but these two teams are very familiar with each other. In the final of the 2018 Windmill tournament, but also, of course, last time we were in the European Championship Finals tournament mode. They were obviously, this is a repeat of that, but one thing's certain, both these teams are really happy to be playing on Astro today and not on the slush fest that was the
Well, this is interesting. I was calling it AstroTurf. Certainly there's some areas off the field which feel more like Astro Marsh. They do get a little bit, there is a lot of water that's been absorbed by this surface, even with the drainage available. Zone this time, and a beautiful high release flick from Orlovskis, who has every throw in his locker and then some. So maybe the fact that GRUT played their semi-final on this fast AstroTurf track as opposed to the swamp over on field 3, maybe they're a little bit more used to it. As Orlovskis, with a huge hammer over the top, caught comfortably by Tom Zabeltinch.
Well, there we see that indoors-outdoors style of play that we love so much.
Despite the rain, there isn't much wind, so they will put those up. Bobbled and couldn't be reeled in on the second attempt. Another turnover for Salaspils. The throw rose and tried to get a hand round it, but just couldn't quite snag it. I think it's Grabe.
Yeah, Grabe there with the attempt at the first goal for Salaspils, but the Latvians are going to be denied. It's just themselves. It's personal errors here, Benji. Latvians coming out a little bit, perhaps heads down. It is rather unpleasant playing in this wet weather, although blessedly not as windy.
It feels like they've been putting a bit more pressure on the throws, GRUT, than perhaps the Salaspils defenders have managed. Brilliant inside break. And now they're shooting it down the far sideline. Boom! Brilliantly finds a receiver in stride. And now Musquet dumps it off. Looking again towards the end zone. Mossink powers up line. Mossink gets it past the bidding defender. Another break for GRUT. Up 3-0 early. Maybe that grind of a semi-final against Putti that you watched yesterday, Hannah, has taken it a bit out of Salaspils here, because they don't seem to have the same gas in the tank that their Dutch opponents do.
No, I say it's really sort of on the flat foot, I think, for the Salaspils side, which is sort of uncharacteristic for them. They are a young team. They've got a lot of athleticism. You know, look at the great bid attempt there to try and prevent the score for Mossink. But as I say, when we saw the drop from Grabe, it wasn't, you know, they are making them throw uncomfortable choices, that's for sure. Like, I'm not putting any disparaging comment on the defense of GRUT right now, but Grabe, you would expect her to come down with that 9 days out of 10. It's
a tough snag. Maybe it's one of those things where even with those gloves in this wet weather, you lose that little bit of tackiness that perhaps they can provide. It's just focus is a little bit harder to concentrate, really. It's a bit more mentally taxing playing in weather of, which feels like actually the rain's, if anything, got heavier since we started.
Oh, it certainly has, Benji. A little bit of ASMR for your viewing pleasure back at home. But this is the thing. With Salaspils' style of offense, they're used to making those big passes and those big grabs.
And they're used to making it work. There's a reason they play that way. It's the same reason that GRUT play their way. Because they've got faith in their receivers, in their throwers. They back themselves to make those catches, and it's why often these two teams matching up is so entertaining, because it's expansive. Sometimes feels like a bit of an understatement. Although Salaspils broken a couple of times early on, taking a timeout there, just a chance to reset their heads. 2 timeouts per team per half. Using one here, I think, understandable decision for Salaspils. So GRUT getting ready to pull. Wonder what they'll cook up defensively, whether they'll go back to that zone or come out one-on-one. We will see as Fukaska comes and pulls. And this is a nice deep one as well. Maybe perhaps a little bit too deep. And Orlovskis puts his hand up to signal the brick mark. And then has to go under the pole to retrieve it as well.
Shout out to the Lilos wrapped around the goals at the end of this AstroTurf, trying to keep the players safe from running into the goal poles, basically.
So Olofskis brings the disc in from the brick mark. Early movement as Abeltinch gets it underneath on the far sideline with Cerula. Bonans points where he wants his cutters to come. Cerula, that's a nice high of Thrick that Abeltinch gets, and this is a much more fluid point. And there you mentioned the sneak and the swag of Salaspils. Santa Sinitsa with a salacious scuba hits the receiver. It's Olofskis in the end zone. That is some way to get your first point on the board, Hannah.
Get that girl a red hat. She's delivering a gift to the far side of the end zone. And that's what we want to see. We need to make these connections happen, make them work. Cerula there with the delicious inside flick. But this is what you want from the Latvian side. They've taken time to bring their composure back in. Just the frustration there for the defender, getting so close to the block, but perfect displacement. And that hopefully now, Benji, can give Salaspils a bit of momentum, because they're staring up 2 breaks and a 3-point charge out the blocks for the Netherlands team.
Yeah, Scarp wasn't far away, but also wouldn't be the first time that someone with the name of Santa has had some immaculate delivery, I guess. I know that you were hinting at that, and I just thought I'd follow it up.
Oh no, please do.
3-1 for the first time this game. We are going to see a... No, not for the first time, because they started on offense, but for the first time in a while, we're getting a GRUT O-line out. Few points on the board without getting out there, so seeing if they can keep those legs energized. Obviously, they should be fresh as Blasman centers to Ort. That expansive deep fake, and you have to respect them because they can come at any time. Instead, he's going out wide to Kolart. Goes right the way back into GRUT's end zone. Good opportunity to build some defensive pressure this in the shadow of Callahan country. And on a high stall, Kolart has no other option but to tear it downfield. Janssen makes the catch. There's going to be a stoppage on a pick. Anna Menard is absolutely motored off deep, which is not usually where you find her.
Yeah, I think Kablichka there heard the call down the field and just paused. But if it hadn't happened, Benji, could have seen a nice big deep huck coming there, but...
So they will reset themselves, find out exactly where they were.
Pick call?
It is the pick, so that's why... they're not going to say suspiciously open necessarily, but because it was clear very early on that there was a pick and everyone had stopped running. Still a little bit of, a couple of steps free there is Menard against her opposite number 5. Oh, sorry, it's the number 3 of Gulber. And that one is just behind the hands of Janne Janssen. So the siblings can't connect. Now a chance for Salaspils perhaps to break. First header of the game, that for GRUT. Trying to manipulate and move the mark around. Malderis. High catch is made here. Elksnitis. Trying to work it down the open side. Cut comes to the back cone. Delivered expertly by Salaspils. Well, any thoughts of GRUT running away with this game will have to be quickly shelved.
They certainly shall. Ned Garvey's moustache getting the first assist on his stat line. We've got a wonderful human behind us, Lorcan Murray, keeping us up to date with the stats here on this game. And thank you very much to Tokai for sponsoring the hosting so we can bring you the shape of this game as it develops. But a nice, easy one into the end zone. Great separation. It's like either Ted or Augustina.
I will have to double check. It's always difficult in that corner when you cannot see the backs of the jersey.
I think it's Helen Terra with the backwards cap, but I did keep getting Gasina and Terra confused in the mixed final under the floodlights as the rain and wind were just getting all up inside the game. But this one, much better. That's what we needed to see from Salaspils. Bit of confidence on their offense, then geeing up the defensive line to get that block back. They're still trailing by 1, but they're in this. They're here. They've arrived. They've woken up.
I think what you're seeing is the value of possession, and that you really need to treasure the disc, because there have been 3 turnovers in this game, and all of them have been punished with breaks. You cannot afford to be profligate with your throwing and with your decision making. As Janssen turns, pivots, booms the backhand deep. Ort bids but doesn't get there. Another turnover for GRUT, and now Salaspils can level to bring us on serve.
Yeah, the pack coming under it, but I don't enjoy that loose mark. We know that GRUT are a team that like to huck it. That was a really easy one to put, just miscued.
Malderis. Reset tries to squirrel free. Eventually goes to Gussars. Munkau applying a little bit of pressure, not enough to put off the Salaspils receivers. And they're just working it around the back at the moment. Not necessarily getting the separation downfield. That's a nice high snag by Linda Gulbe.
Yeah, Gulbe did excellent work in the semi-final against Putti.
Malderis, a champion on the sand as well with Real 5 as this one goes deep. Players underneath it. Well, one is good. That is twice as nice. Two players underneath that. I don't know who you choose to give the reception to. Santa Sinitsa, Helen Terra, take your pick. Either way, it's a break and we're back on serve.
Well, they have one apiece on the stat board already. Sinitsa with the assist and Helen Terra with the goal early in the stages. I really enjoy watching Lasma Kublicka throw flick bombs because the way her shoulder moves as she follows through all that power generation, it's just delightful to see.
I mean, now with so 3 points in a row to start the game for GRUT. Salaspils take a timeout. They score 3 points in a row, tied at 3-all. Now GRUT taking a timeout. So feels like there might be an early pattern emerging in this game. I love watching let me put my team. Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant to say. I've never struggled. I love watching Lasma Kubicka play. Oh, there we are. A very good boy / girl on the sideline there in front of the Euro disc flag, the official disc supplier for this tournament. I love watching Lasma Kubicka play because she's always got a huge beaming smile on her face. And just looks like, I mean, it's so infectious when you see players out there who are clearly enjoying themselves because it rubs off on your teammates, it rubs off on the sidelines. It just brings a really good energy to it.
It really does. And as you say, some excellent doggo game here at the fields in Bruges, Belgium. But so looking at the way Salaspils have responded, they've done exactly what they needed to do. They've put us back on serve. In the last time these guys met for a European Championship final title, Salaspils were the ones that came out at the end of the game 15-12 up. So at this moment, obviously, these two teams know each other pretty well, but GRUT are missing some of the players that perhaps were quite pivotal in their previous matchup at this level. And it's going to be really interesting to see how the new connections develop as they move from less of a just superstar team collection, because of course GRUT coming together out of the junior scene, they enjoy playing so much with each other at the national representation level that they, you know, that's the origins of this club. But now they're moving themselves forward, actually establishing themselves as a proper club in the Netherlands ultimate scene. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that develops over the coming years. Can they really establish themselves and continue to develop themselves in the same way they have? I mean, this is the first year they've had tryouts. Yeah,
before it was literally just been that they've been so closely, just the same group of friends, kind of a couple of additions every year. But yeah, open tryouts this year. Very different style for GRUT as Minard, with the rain pounding even harder now, goes back to Ort. Good job he's got that long wingspan because he gets down low and snags it. Now Ort does find a cutter coming underneath. And now Ort powers up line. Minard trying to get the dump off. Oh, this one's a little bit fluttering, a little bit floaty. Really nicely brought in by Janssen. Finds his sister Jana down the sideline. Running the pattern from the reset. Gets the defender to commit to stopping the throw in the backfield. And then Ort gets it up line. Really grinding it down that far sideline. Brilliant break off from Blasman. Finds Jana Janssen. Trying to isolate a receiver that she likes. Kalarts towards the sideline. Just got the wrong edge on it, and Janssen knew it. It just tailed out of bounds. Another turn. Salaspils will have the disc to take the lead.
You see the relief there on Lasma Kublicka's face where she realizes that Flora has given up on the disc as well, and so she's not going to have to make a hero bid to knock it out of contention.
Lasma on Fleur is some matchup.
Oh, I know. It gives me feels.
And we're getting it in immediate play there with Kublicka. almost effortlessly sliding along the turf after she makes a high layout snag under excellent pressure from Floor Cularts.
Well, she is certainly an inspirational player to watch, the former double-duty Eurostar in 2018 and 2019.
One of only a few, as this one is ripped deep. Klubitska got a hand on it, tried to be reeled in at the back off the tip by Jurgensens. Nothing doing that time. So this is the first point all game with multiple turnovers. First time any O-line has been able to make amends. That one just too high for Klubitska, and Jurgensens couldn't quite get there. Tom Blasman will pick up the disc. You can see him wiping it in his jersey. Not the orange that we're used to for GRUT. Real jerseys didn't arrive in time, so they're using these kind of minimalist backups that I quite like. As that one skids across the AstroTurf. Another turn for GRUT. Garvey travels out of the sideline. Or it doesn't travel, in fact, does not even get in the sideline. So that's going to be a turnover. Ort swings across to Menard. And a handling call that is so often bombs away. Menard is that rock-solid option at the back. And this one is rifled deep by Tom Blasman. What a throw. Just the right shape on it. Walt Janssen right at the back of the end zone for the snag. 4-3 GRUT. That is a peach of a throw from Tom Blasman.
And there we see a bit of a dirtier one than the first point that's had 2 turnovers apiece. A hold for GRUT. But we're starting to find that, well, I say we're starting to, the teams on the field are starting to really get into the rhythm. They're pushing each other, they're testing each other, they're finding the spaces to make turnover opportunities happen. But yeah, nice calm way to finish at the end. I want to see this game a little bit more spicy. You know, I know it's obviously we're looking for a gold medal. We've seen some nice upside down throws from Salaspils, but GRUT seem to be,
well, they seem to be playing within themselves a bit, and then Blasman, with no force, saw a brilliant opportunity to just rip that forehand deep. Lovely little bit of IO shape on it to flatten it out. Had the loft to take it over the defenders. You could see Klubitska just jump, unfortunately for her, out of her reach, and finds Janssen. His eyes lit up when he saw the throw go up, and he makes the catch in stride at the back of the end zone. So GRUT with a 4-3 lead as this pool bends out of the sideline. And it will be Arvids Janis Orlovskis to bring it in from the brick mark. Will be familiar to a lot of players coming through the strong Latvian youth program. Actually played with the talismanic Ben Ort for the Belgian junior team out in Canada a couple of years ago. I think he was maybe thinking about the overhead for a little while. Nearly got into trouble on a high stall. Bonans tries to crash through. That is a visionary throw. The blade slides through that midfield space. And now they're off to the races, picking up the pace. Orlovskis to the back of the end zone to Yanis Bonans. Oh, when Salaspils make it work, it looks so good, Hannah.
oh, absolutely. Just the creativity to slice that one through. Little, not sure what that head pat was from the player with the long sleeve on. But yeah, this is just a really pleasant game to be watching right now, Benji. If you're in the comments and you want to get a shout out, obviously the stream isn't the perhaps most clear, but if you want to watch this one back, don't worry, because the pitches are being recorded. So all of this footage is being stored. So even if the internet does go down and shake us all around here, we will be able to bring a cleaner stream later on. This is all going on the box.
And there you see again, it's that field vision, seeing the space, and they can see the kind of take off in their peripheral vision, putting it out there for them to run onto, rather than waiting them to be in the space and then trying to really nail it there. And as you mentioned, hello to everyone who is watching us on YouTube. All our games remain free for all eternity on the ulti.TV YouTube channel. As the American import, Ned Garvey.
Also, to respond to the comments, one of the reasons we are having problems with the Wi-Fi this morning is the weather. The rain is getting in our cables and messing with things. But thankfully, our cameras are still functioning as we see Helen Tedder smack it into the ground. Yeah, Ort just put a little bit too much air underneath it. It allowed the defenders to close in. And I just think just flashed across the field of vision of Janne Janssen and distracted her from making the catch.
as Janssen comes around. I thought perhaps there was going to be a call, but Garvey thinks he got there cleanly. Brilliant bid that from Wout Janssen to steal back possession for GRUT.
I love how they've left almost a skid mark on the 4G in front of us, having ripped the rubber crumb out from its hiding place.
So Ort, this one is a much softer feather touch of a flick underneath for Janssen. Turning to try to break the mark. Goes across to Harris. Scored the game's first goal, but we haven't seen him on the stat sheet since. Dishes forward to Yanni Janssen. Brilliant bid comes flying through from who else but Klubitska. Keeping that Klubitska on Coulart's matchup that is so money to watch.
Was that a push pass just there?
Hey, I love it if it was, and they squeeze it down the sideline, jamming it in the jam hole. Blasman finds Coulart. Could take the lead once more at 5-4. The thing is, we've pointed out that matchup a lot, but anywhere you look, there are just so many fun matchups to watch. It was the push pass. Love it. Absolutely love it. And then just delays that up the line cut long enough to get Klubitska looking the other way and squeezes it past that outstretched arm.
My girl, Fleur Coulart with the push pass, giving us that indoorsy, outdoorsy.
And even the push pass spike as well, just to add a little bit of gloss to proceedings.
Absolutely. Well, it's all on serve. It's all very... I mean, I feel like I need to get into this game more, Benji. I feel like I'm feeling a little bit flat. We're in a tent. It's weird. We can't see the whole field, but we will...
It's slightly disconnected being in here, but the option is being out there.
And getting electrocuted.
Yes, which is not an ideal option, although... So I do feel genuinely like I'm a little bit buzzing, so maybe
It's all right.
like I've stuck my finger in a plug a little bit.
You got some roller cola in you. It's
just a little bit. Here's Orlovskis. Going towards the far sideline to find Bernans.
Such a big hero for them in their game against Putty. Really went to work, put the game on his back towards the later stages. I didn't have the stats, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was responsible for, I think, maybe 5 or 4 of the scores in their second half.
I mean, Bernans is almost the figurehead of Latvian Ultimate. I mean, he's coached and managed teams, been president of the federation. I mean, he is almost Mr. Latvia. Underneath, zinged, and it's off the hands of Orlovskis. I mean, it was a tough play to make, but he would have backed himself to make it.
I mean, it did smack him straight in the hands. Nothing you can say about the throw except maybe a bit too spicy.
Yeah, it didn't necessarily need to be delivered with the same amount of venom that it was. Can't find anything downfield, so Matt Blasman instead goes back to Dan Epstein. Pivoting around, finding Lola Dam. Caught the first break of this game. The front of the end zone that they are attacking now, but they've got a long way to go, deep in their own territory at the moment. Matt Blasman has it on this near sideline. Just got to make sure I got the right sibling there. Quite a few sibling connections on this team. High release off into the center, but Epstein makes the catch comfortably enough with a gloved left hand. This one, I don't think she towed it in on the sideline. Suzanne Slob tried her best, but I think as she's making the catch, her feet leave the ground, and by the time they touch turf again, they've crossed that white line.
Oh, maybe.
Or maybe not.
Maybe like a teeny tiny point of contact, but the play on the field has been decided. No one asking to see the replay in the booth.
No one else seems to immediately disagree with it.
It was so close. It's too hard to see by eye.
Turnover stands, and Orlovskis with a lead throw down this near side channel to Bernans. Dished into the end zone, Salaspils level, and it is Santa Sinica who now has a second goal to go along with an assist as well.
Oh, I can't wait to get a second look at that. That lead to Bernans on the break side, and then just such an easy window. The two offensive players in the end zone really keeping their position well. And here we are, Orlovskis thinks about it. We're waiting. In it goes, yeah, look at that.
Leaves it for so long, it actually almost allows Kulin to come in there.
Indeed, but when he's got that position, he's reading it well, he can kind of shepherd it. I think, you're always cognizant that the defender is on your shoulder. I think she would have had to come in and probably try and foul him to win that one.
It would have been an extremely difficult play to make without making contact.
But maturity from her, she did see that he had it and let it go. But, yeah, that's what we need to see from Salaspils. it's interesting. GRUT, maybe because of some of their newer connections, I feel like they're looking off some of the open shots downfield. There is separation there. Maybe they're a little bit kind of, you know, we need to be conservative, but Salaspils really squeezing them into tight channels, and that was what forced the catch to not be able to be quite made in as called on the field. And we see Kublitska slapping it down. Perhaps a call there, too much shoulder barging. That looked fairly clean from where we were, but we'll watch that back. Again, they're creating a couple of problems for themselves. That time, under tight pressure, leaning back, a bit of too much air underneath the throw. It allows Kublitska, the defender there, to come in and have the chance to make the play, although the two of them, as we mentioned, are engaged in discussion. Now that would be a power couple if the two were literally engaged. Okay, yes, but you know what I mean. Oh, it was just a thought that came into my mind. To be fair, there are... Kublitska made a bit of a grimace. I don't think she was... I think she thought she got there clean, but sometimes players can't agree. So contested foul, the disc goes back into the hands of Ort. He's given the license to shoot, but as he mentioned, you think about GRUT of 4 or 5 years ago, it was real air raid style offense, like just bombing it all over the field, and now it feels like they have the patience and consistency that it's almost like they've grown up and matured, but that feels a little bit reductive. Janssen will swing this one. This is floaty, but reeled in comfortably in the end by Harris. Continues to the break side, to Ben Ort. Tries to whip this one through that inside channel to Kularts. Now she's looking downfield, taking a second or two to wipe the disc. Much better to just make sure that it use the stall count to keep it clean rather than just have it flip out of your hands to the floor. Kublitska trying to be active on that mark, prevent the getting too many yards on the around, but is very central. Ort can't take advantage while the force is not tight. Eventually takes off up line, looking for the give-go. Jurgensen's closes in time. Now it's Menard, gets it in front of Cirula. Was on the Swiss team that got a silver medal at EUC in 2019. Hammer dump, ill-advised, swatted to the floor. I don't think there was going to be anyone who was going to get there regardless. And Salaspils know that a break here would put them in front for the first time this game, and choosing to take their second and final timeout of the half here, Hannah. Yeah, Martins Guzars, I think. Thank you very much, by the way, to Lasma Kublitska for giving us a bit of assistance with the pronunciation for these Latvian names. We are familiar with a lot of this roster, Benji, but it's always a wee bit challenging. But yeah, a very mature call there, taking the timeout after getting the layout block to just make sure. And Salaspils at the moment seem to have the edge. They're really putting a lot of pressure. You read my mind, Benji, as we were watching the matchup between Fleur and Lasma. It was almost like in my head, it's like a masterclass we're being treated to out there on this Astro field of how to be an active mark. Both the feet and the hands moving. She's always looking, always changing, which if you're a thrower, to try and penetrate that is really hard. And at the moment, I feel like GRUT maybe are feeling a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe not frightened, but just a little bit uncomfortable. Yeah, especially after the way they started this game, going off to a 3-0 lead. You'd expect that maybe, okay, we get some level of comfort in this game. But Salaspils came roaring back so quickly that after a very clean first few points, it's just, I don't want to say it's descended slightly, but you can tell that perhaps the defensive pressure has ratcheted up a little bit, both on the field and perhaps in the minds of the players as well. I feel like in some respects, maybe Salaspils are a team that need that energy. They need that kind of, that fight. The fire. Yeah, to kind of bring it out of them. But we'll see what they make of this. Excellent field position here as they come out in a vertical stack. So 4 players, as you mentioned, in that vertical stack downfield. 3 handlers back, 1 central with the disc, and then 1 either side to provide a potential reset option. Harris checks the disc in. High release goes towards the sideline. Here's Gulba underneath to Terra. Going to be a stoppage. Everyone gets reset and is checked back in. Terra still has it.
Turning, trying to find a reset on a high stool, just pretty much nails a receiver in the chest. But this one floats. No one can get there. Klubitska tried to provide the backup, couldn't get there in time. So the turnover goes back Grut's way. Ort drying his hand, saw him wearing gloves yesterday and earlier. He's taken those off, wants to get the feel of plastic in hand, and swings to Minard.
Yeah, the gloves can sometimes be a bit extra slippy in the wet. Nice grab there.
Not that you'd expect anything less necessarily from Janne Jansen. Underneath to her brother Walt. Big expressive fakes downfield. Looking for Ort. Sometimes it seems like the two of them are just playing catch, and Ort is suspiciously open, perhaps. There is a pick. He will keep possession because they decided that the defender wasn't going to be able to close the gap anyway.
There's a pick in the stack. So not on Ort, but...
And now Ort will try and break it around. Jansen got the disc in hands. I'd be surprised if he coded that in bounds. But we can have a look at it again here.
He's just too fast. Yeah, you see the hand is secured and the outside foot goes down. But he had way too much momentum to do anything kind of balletic, tiptoey.
On the front cone, trying to break. Salaspils still working within their own end zone. Swinging it back and forth. Trying to find some momentum. Now they've got a little bit of forward push. Klubitska, oof, made the catch and then ran straight into the shoulder of Chris Harris. That will, you can see that she's always quite expressive, but looked like she might have been rocked a little bit there. Good to see that she's okay to continue, and a high release backhand gets it towards this near sideline. Low release, finds Terror in space. Terror looking around, dumps, resets, and Jurgensen continues that swing to Gushars.
I love this look of having the four women in the upfield and the chaps at the back, really allowing the athletic, oh well, I say that. All of the people on the field here are amazing athletes, and that's a heads-up play coming in.
Just a complete miscommunication, and Menard caught the disc to get it back into play quickly. Orts shooting deep once more. Harris tried to find a way to come round it and whip it back in for the greatest.
Yeah, you take that because of the height mismatch, but just leathered far too much on it.
So that Ort hasn't had his best game with the disc in hand necessarily. You give your best throwers, new shooters, the license to shoot because they have the faith that they can get it back afterwards as well. But he hasn't really found his range in this game as this one floats, and it is picked up once more by GRUT. Floor culottes. Pivots, fakes. Klubitska getting very flat on the mark. Forces Fleur into the high release, which is climbed into and caught excellently by Ben Ort. Centering pass to Minard. Low release, not a problem though. Jansen squares up, looks for Ort down the line, leaves Gushars in the dust. Finally, what felt like a bit of a marathon point is done, with GRUT taking a 6-5 lead.
Yeah, definitely not the easiest one for the O-line of GRUT there. 3 turnovers apiece. That is the dirtiest hold we've seen so far this game. And there's not much mud on the field, so at least, you know, we get a little bit of dirt in there. We coined the phrase dirty hold, myself and Ravi. But it's just to say, because obviously you say clean hold when you don't have any turnovers. But, you know, it's nice to be out. Although I imagine with all of the bids that we're seeing on this field, people are going to end up with so much. So yesterday it was all about the saturation of the shirts with mud. I think Robin Fennick from Yaka said, "My shirt will always remember the fields in Bruges after this tournament because the particles of the Belgian mud are just not going to be..."
No matter how many times you wash that, that is never going to be completely white again.
It's never going to be the same ever again. But yeah, in terms of what's going to be the interesting thing here is that players are going to be finding, or just anyone even standing on the side of the field. Even I found a little bit of piece of rubber crumb underneath my compression gear as I put on a fresh pair yesterday morning. It just gets everywhere.
I mean, there's a decent portion of our crew that have come straight from Sardinia for the World Great Grandmasters Beach Ultimate Club Championships. And in the same way the sand gets everywhere, the rubber crumb does the same.
But bringing us back in, that's got to be Orlovskis, surely. Tall lad.
It is indeed Orlovskis bringing the disc in from the brick mark. First pass goes out wide, and then Orlovskis turns off, goes downfield, plows back underneath.
I was delighted to get to call the mixed semi-final that the Latvians were in yesterday. It's familiar territory, though, all these repeats from 2019.
It's almost like we never left.
Almost.
Almost. That one is low, fielded. I feel like that was pretty clearly down for Banans.
Yeah, well, watch that back on the replay. Seemed to have a little bounce, but speaking of this kind of being a replay, but obviously post-pandemic, I don't know if you... Actually, no, I do know, Benji. I know you took a little bit of a hiatus from the Soch, which I think was probably a very smart and sensible thing to have done in life. But Latvia seemed to be one of the first nations to be able to return to playing Ultimate after that initial wave of the virus arriving in Europe and announcing itself in the worst way.
And maybe just those extra practices you can get in while other countries are coming out of lockdown gives you a bit more time to just get back into your flow, nail that chemistry a bit more. More practice time is never really a bad thing. Squirreling his way free, eventually finding it is Dan Epstein. Here's Lola Dam. He'll toss underneath. Machakulan now. Epstein front, center of the end zone. How do you stop Lola Dam when she's isolated at the front of the end zone? Well, I guess if someone knew, it would have happened by now. And GRUT, their D-line offense there, finally getting the opportunity to show what they were made of, taking a 7-5 lead now.
Indeed, putting themselves within one of sneaking away with the half, extending a little bit of light between themselves and Salaspils. Costly error there. And Lola Dam is just such a pleasure to watch. She's a monster, an absolute menace, because she's so good on defense and then nigh on unstoppable. Like, realistically, you want to put her on the D-line because defense wins games. Fact.
And I mean, she's maybe the best defender in the division. You can't not really put that on the D-line.
Well, she ended up in the All-Europe mixed line back in 2019, and I'm pretty sure she got some personal awards, but we'll confirm exactly which ones those were. But yeah, just such a superstar. And I just really like the understated way with which she does stuff. She very rarely kind of, you know, cracks. It's just all business all day.
Yeah, you'd never know whether they were loads of points up or Lola points down. Loads of points down. Always seems to put in exactly the same amount of effort. Deep, just too deep in the end. Layout couldn't quite get there from Tom's Abeltinch.
And they're starting to feel a little bit like the beginning of this game, Benji, where Salaspils just weren't firing on all cylinders.
So pick downfield. It's Mossink to bring it in. He's got a compression sleeve on his right leg and a slightly hefty knee brace as well. I believe he is one of the many Frisbee players who have had some ACL problems over the years.
One of the grandfathers of the team, because that was the term they used, the kiddies. I forget exactly what the word translates to in English, but...
He's an elder statesman on this team. Not that that really says a huge amount given the relative youth of a lot of the roster. That one is undercooked, so it's going to be back in play. Orlovskis got a couple of people biting on that fake. Now swung out towards this sideline, over the top to Yanis Bernans. Bernans clearly has spotted the signal of a pick downfield. And it will be checked back in by Niels Bohm. Wants to just toss that one underneath. Instead, chooses the reset to Orlovskis. Trying to just chill things out after that earlier first throw turn. Orlovskis with a little scuba. Nice way to access that underneath space from the cutter. Abeltinch coming from that far side of the field across horizontally. Gids Badmanis with the double zeros on his back. Finds Abeltinch. The closer they get to the end zone, the louder this GRUT sideline seems to get.
It's interesting here. There's a lot of sagging off on the unders, which is allowing Salaspils to play a bit of keepy disky.
But they're now outside the end zone. Brilliant lead throw from Santa Sinica. 2 goals, 2 assists now as Yanis Bornans makes the catch for the Salaspils hold. They're still down 1, but 7-6 is a lot better than 8-5, as it could well have been with GRUT having the disc on that point to break for half.
Yeah, as I say, that point, a little bit of poaching off, a little bit of trying to cluster the space just in front of the disc from GRUT's defenders. But nice composure from Salaspils, working it nice and easily and confidently. And when things melted and became a bit more close person, just off to the races. But again, we're seeing Bernans coming to the fore in this game. He's all over the stats board already. Behind his teammate as Santa Sinica. He's only got 2 assists, no, so 2 goals to 1 assist, whereas Sinica has 2 of both.
Well, actually, I say 2 of both. Maybe 2 of one and 1.5 of the other, because there was the joint catch with Sinica and Terra. We've given it Sinica's way, but it is... Yes, I feel like it feels a bit mean. It feels a bit mean to not give one of them credit for it, given that they both got their hands wrapped around it.
So it's rather than one clear extra stat, it's a half a stat. But still out in front.
Frisbee needs the equivalent of football's dubious goals panel to decide about these things. By the way, if we get that, I want to be on it. Janssen looks deep. Kalarts skies Kublitska to take us to half.
And that is a beautiful, quick hold for GRUT. And it's just, I can't figure this game out, Benji.
In what way, Hannah?
As in, it seems like there are just so many of these beautifully crafted, completely offensive annihilation. Like, look at that disc to Colot. You could not have put that in a more perfect pocket. And this is the really interesting thing, right? Both of these teams are absolutely capable of putting together some incredible defense. And actually, it doesn't feel like it's stopping and starting this game. There are moments where the offense is absolutely picture perfect. And at the moment, that's happening more often to GRUT than it is to Salaspils. We've seen more of those sort of, I say, calling them probably unforced is unfair, because there is definitely a lot of pressure in this game from the defense and also from the occasion. This is your first really big major tournament after the pandemic. This is also, you know, it is just itself a European Championship final. At the moment, obviously, Salaspils, from a mental perspective, they have it all to give away. They are the reigning champions. This is their title to give over to GRUT. And GRUT, of course, as we say, some younger players, certainly a much deeper roster. It's not been the biggest workload this tournament. 2 days a game, so 2 games a day, more or less, rather than 5 for us. But you can see there's a massive difference. GRUT have so many more legs, and perhaps that's the thing that's really giving them advantage, is that in the earlier stages of the tournament, they've been able to run deeper lines, use the full, you know, weight of their team size, whereas Salaspils, maybe they're feeling a little bit less energetic this morning.
There's a bit more lactic acid in the legs of those of the Latvians, perhaps, than there would be of their Dutch counterparts. Something that's very interesting, you mentioned that Lorcan Murray's been doing an excellent job keeping the stats behind us in our little broadcast booth/tent. Perfect conversions, by which we mean clean holds, you know, points where you score without turning it over yourself. Only 2 for 7 is the GRUT O-line. GRUT D-line is 3 for 5. And I think that tells you a lot about, actually, sometimes when some of the cleanest points in this game for both sides might have come after the turn.
Well, as we've said, players like Lola Dam on your D-line.
It's not bad.
And that's what, as I said, that's what wins games. You know, you need to have a flawless O-line if you can get one. Although there was some murmurs around the field site here in Bruges that nobody has a good enough O-line. What do you think of that comment, Benj?
I don't think anyone in the history of Ultimate has had a flawless O-line. I straight up do not think it's possible. But it depends on whether you want your O-line to be that, you know, never turn it over style of O-line, or whether you allow them to take the shots, as you more traditionally do to a D-line, but just trust that your O-line players are good enough defensively to get the disc back. Gastinia fakes. What a fake that is as well, because Suzanne Slob was sold all the way down the river into the North Sea. Orlovskis looks, trying to find an option. He likes downfield, doesn't see one, takes the reset instead, and then powers up line. It's a bit behind, but makes the catch solidly enough. Fuka catches it and puts the pressure on, sorry, after Orlovskis catches it, and he fakes downfield as they just wait for a pick to resolve. 4 women, 3 men, the gender ratio at this point. And Schrapp picks the disc in. Now underneath, the Latvians working down the far sideline with Podgorskis. Podgorskis with a lead throw. Scarp, oh, brilliant posterizing grab from Orlovskis. I love that he goes around as well to check that his opposite number is okay, gives him a slap of the hand. The spirit that you love to see as well, even in a tight physical contest of this nature. That respect is still clearly there between the two teams and players on the field. Salaspils with a clean hold to start the second half, 8-7.
Well, friend of the ulti.TV crew, Focus Up there, we know he's a pretty nice dude. He's come and spent some time with us, I believe in the after the party on Italian Butlins, as I love to refer to it in Carolle, the accommodation.
Italian Butlins?
It is. The accommodation site is definitely Italian Butlins, except with fewer janky kind of cabaret performances.
And people in red coats?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, gotcha. All right, I'll believe you. Yeah, I love seeing that respect out there on the field between these two sides, as we mentioned, had these battles over the years. Salaspils came out on top 2 years ago in Cole, on the outskirts of Venice in the airport fields there. 15-12 the final score, but GRUT didn't have the strength and depth they had now. Ben Ort was recovering from an ACL injury. Other players recovering from injuries as well. It perhaps wasn't quite, I mean, GRUT are always formidable, but the fact that they are retooled and might be better than ever now, that is a scary sight.
Well, as you say, it's the first year they've had open tryouts, as that's a complete miscue, just sailing out of bounds.
I was just about to say that Janssen's been so precise with his throwing all over the field. I mean, that one, he could not have got more wrong. You can see he's leaning back as he releases it, and the edge is all wrong, and it just curls out of the sideline. That is one he would not want to see again.
Absolutely not, but a golden opportunity, a gift for Salaspils. Again, Terra completely free, asks her so much from Kublichka, but she delivers and she's going to loz it straight into the end zone.
Terra can never quite catch up to it. Bangs her head in frustration, does Kublichka. I mean, did so well to make that catch. Podgorskis doing a bit of double duty, playing O and then straight back on D. Somehow found Kublichka. I mean, that is a brilliant shot, got the camera right behind it. What a play by Lasma Kublichka.
I feel like that might have been a little bit of a case of trying to throw the player open rather than really waiting. You could see that Terra was just starting her cut, but perhaps like a little bit of hesitation. Just a bit more patience from Kublichka there.
Yeah, especially with the adrenaline pumping through your veins after a big bid like that, landing heavy. Sometimes discretion is the better part of valor.
Well, and also knowing that this point is very valuable. They're trailing that one break to the Netherlands team.
And the rain, every time you think it's just going to ease off and we're going to get, well, not in the clear, but at least not quite as wet, it just powers its way down again once more. Throw and go from Menard, Blasman, Janssen. I wonder if he's got that previous missed throw in his head, because now he just swings to Ort. Menard comes all the way across towards this near sideline. Swings, centers to Ort. I can really hear it powering its way down there.
You can really see the height mismatch there. GRUT have, quite traditionally for a Dutch team, quite a lot of tall blokes.
Big, expansive force, but Janssen just waits for him to land before sliding one through. And then Collards to Ort is so wide open. Whatever the defensive play was there, probably shelved that one for a while.
Well, I'll tell you what, you can't get gunpowder wet because it doesn't work, but that was some exploded coverage. Who on earth was supposed to be marking up against him?
Strange. It's a strange one because, I mean, it's not as if they just, oh, well, we might give him a bit of space because we don't know if they can make the play. It's Ben Ort. And I think they try and pass off a switch and it goes, maybe, yes, no, are we both taking him? Okay, I'll take, no, you, and then they both peel off at the same time. And Ort is just, I mean, he will scarcely catch easier goals in a game of this magnitude.
Absolutely. So the opportunity was there. The carrot was hanging in front of Salaspils to get the break back, but instead the GRUT side continued to charge ahead this second half. Currently trading out, but it's going to go toe-to-toe right to the wire, I think.
Here's the Salaspils offense once more. Bardol trying her best to be as awkward as possible on the mark. Brunans is in plenty of space. Eventually he gets it. See, so often you see players, even if they're in space, they want to move around to feel like they're getting involved. But he saw that he was poached, and he just sat there and waited to be found. Being about economical and efficient with the movement.
Hey, take what you're given.
Absolutely.
Especially with the throwing chops on this team.
Scuba to Orlovskis with a devilish inside-out backhand across the pitch. And I tell you what, it needed some catching. Santa Synica, unbelievable.
Santa Synica is all over the field in this game for Salaspils. Didn't have the bestest of times when it was the sludge match, grudge match against Putti, but I think it was just a case of being a little bit unlucky occasionally, but that was just beautiful. And I'm not a huge fan of these sagging off of the Salaspils throwers.
It's a bold decision given for any player on the pitch. You know that they can and they will put it at most opportunities.
Absolutely. So it's kind of like it's giving them no pressure on the throw, so they can then execute the picture perfect in exactly the right pocket. That's what Latvia do really well. And
if the force is tight, there's no way that you can get that inside-out backhand with that sort of shape and volume across the pitch.
Even if they still get it out, at least you being
it's
there.
It's a bit more awkward.
Yeah, exactly.
You pivot out and you try and throw the blade instead in these conditions. That can be a bit more slippery. Lovely throw to find the space, but honestly, Synica, that is a ridiculous catch. Ridiculous catch.
It's what she does, man. It's what she does.
Yeah, that is what she does. I don't know why I'm surprised, because it's been done. She'll do it once and she'll do it multiple times again, but still, it's a marvel.
Got a comment that she read it like a daughter of a librarian, but that one also very well read into the hands as we see the layout clap catch. Always difficult to do.
And it needed to be made as well because it was, again, not a particularly nice throw from Janssen. We talked about, get a bit closer, make them throw the blade because it can be difficult in these conditions. Saw it there, underthrown, really well rescued by Chris Harris, but on the pick, it will go back into Janssen's hands. On the mark, Tom Zabeltinch takes it back in. And here's Minard. It'll pop off down that sideline to Janne Janssen.
Really enjoying the way Minard just moving Tara all the way around, but she's doing a little bit of poaching off.
And now she takes off up line. 2-5s matched up against each other. Force flattens up for a little bit to stop that strike. Good communication from the Latvian sideline. Janssen fakes the dump. Instead goes low, goes hard. Nails Harris in the hands. Off target, and Minard with a disc behind her. Couldn't quite adjust in time. So now, this could level it for the Latvians. Bernans swings to Kublitska. Again, another formidable player to have. A, in generating the turn, and B, once you've got the disc back in the hands. Just thinking about the ridiculous toe drag swag she had in Kyle a couple of years ago, and that one was too much go and not enough throw.
Yeah, you can see some of the intensity of the unders from the Salaspils female players. They're almost jogging the end of the cuts because of the lack of pressure on the unders from the defense. Maybe that's the casualness that just got in the head.
So Janssen, after collecting the underneath, pings it straight back to Ben Ort. Finds that little channel to get the inside through to Janne Janssen. Fakes a Menard. Is the break available? Perhaps it would be, but she lasers in on Ort. Jurgensen's on the mark, or maybe does enough to make that throw float, and Kubicka made a really nice adjustment to come back and slap it to the floor, but Kolarz looks like she might have picked up a knock here.
Yeah, great heads up from Kubicka, just making sure, because, you know, with a intense monster like Kolarz, didn't have the position to make the bid as Kubicka did, because she just happened to be behind her. But you know that you have to close the door and lock it shut.
High grab by Kubicka, and then really rolls her wrist with that high release flick. Low grab made by Helen Terra. It's a break for the equalizer.
That was a hero maker of a throw, asking so much of Helen Terra after she got looked off on so many of those unders. But they know when to throw to her when it counts.
It was, I mean, 3 passes on that to eventually put it in. Kubicka made a brilliant high take, high release flick downfield that, again, a little bit of pressure for Albeltinch. With Janssen on the back.
You know what I love so much about this catch from Terra? If you watch this replay once again, look how she gets both hands around the disc on that layout. Just such intent, like the just presence of mind to put both hands around it. That's what you have to train. None of this kind of, you know, going for one, only go for it that if your best option is the trailing edge.
Oh my! Oh, the trail. I have talked enough about people trying to catch trailing edge on streams before.
Yeah,
it makes me so uncomfortable. But that time, as you mentioned, go with 2 hands. A, it's more secure, and B, really reducing the chance of ground stripping yourself on the landing. And
also, by going with 2, you're going to end up probably in a better position in terms of contact with the ground. You're probably going to be a little bit more equal. You're going to hit with a larger surface area of your body and therefore less likely to injure yourself, dislocate a shoulder, or do something nasty to one of your hips. Even if it's just turf burn, because that's the problem about laying on the surface. It is more pleasant than getting covered in mud, but you're going to burn afterwards. Oh, the level of the field that was attaching itself to the thighs and chests of the players laying out yesterday. You don't want that. It's going to weigh you down.
So that is a very expressive fake from Chris Harris, the German. Swings outside to Tom Blasman. Blasman, little high release flick of his own to find that inside channel to Menard. Continues the break, and it's in and out of Harris's hands. Now, for the first time, the Latvians could take the lead.
So we're seeing once again the Salaspils defense really pushing GRUT to make those uncomfortable choices. They're still able to throw to each other, but the windows are closing.
Underneath, Elksnitis. He's got Malderis on the far sideline with Terra. Still got images and replays of that catch in my head. Orlovskis crossing over to the D-line. Now trying to power the offense. Kubicka is wide open underneath. Kolarz eventually catches up. Gets the mark on. High release with the reset to Orlovskis. Purposeful stride. Lasers the inside flick through. Madaris thought about the continuation. Didn't like it though. Waits for Janssen to come up. Encroach closer to put the force on. Goes back to Orlovskis, a little bit out in front of Malderis. Not a problem, though. Those two just playing it between themselves at the moment. Nice little back pedal to steal a little bit of field position. Burgle it away from GRUT. Fakes the down the line, doesn't like it. You can see they're allowing the reset swing because they're terrified about that inside shot through. High release backhand. Kubicka brilliantly reeled in. Purposeful fake. Gets Kolarz backpedaling. Now she's turning, looking, taking advantage of the face mark brilliantly to Orlovskis, and there's a stoppage downfield. Looks like a collision of some sort, perhaps.
Yeah, again, Kaplichka just treating us to some textbook play there. She say that sees the face mark and just puts the disc out into the space. Shame we didn't get an immediate continuation there, but it is quite difficult to get to the open side past these GRUT defenders because their agility and the footwork is just excellent coverage.
So I thought maybe could have been the pick generated there. Trying to get Cutters coming underneath instead. Turns late to isolate the reset of Klubitska. Again, wants to take advantage of that face marking. Harris just puts it into space beautifully. One throw outside the end zone now, and surely Orlovskis. Can he find it? No, goes for the reset instead. Playing a very conservative game at the moment because they know how much this break means. Treasuring the disc as if it were a young child. Low, too low in fact for Terra.
They needed to put one more pass on that. They needed to get the break to the side. It's just trying to make it happen too much with the disc, not enough with the legs. Because right now, neither team is flawless with their throws. And a timeout's going to be called by GRUT, and I think that is very wise.
Yeah, Salaspils feel like maybe they're the better side in this second half, winning it 3-1 at the moment.
They are. And that was, it's interesting actually. I do still like the timeout call, but it's only one turnover apiece. So this is clearly a moment that GRUT find pivotal in the game, or certainly the player that called it.
Yeah, it's the 99 of Tom Blassman who walked it up to the front of the line and took the timeout. And I think they can tell that they know how important this is. This was the turnover. Looked like Harris had it, and just maybe that when he puts the foot on the ground, it jars it loose. There's the turnover for Salaspils, that shot to Terra that she can't quite get underneath this time.
It's asking a lot of her. You know, it's the, again, throwing the player open. And Terra is fantastic.
I mean,
but
just look at the break the previous point.
Yeah,
it's a catch that she is capable of making, but it's not a catch that she should necessarily have to make. The catch could be made easier for her.
Well, again, the execution on that throw, it's very difficult to do. It's clearly coming out very fast. It's putting it out into the space, trusting your teammate. But I say, if they'd put one more link on that, maybe a dump, a little bit of a gainer, a bit of a momentum, then it's much easier to throw that open. So throw that break, but throw the player open. I don't know, but
I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
Throw it into space.
And I'm sure the viewers at home who are nice and warm and dry as we sit under the rain here in Bruges.
Yes. I mean, I think we have the best seat in the house, but if you can't be here, where else better to watch it than in the warm and dry here on ulti.TV in your language of choice as well. Multiple language streams.
Yes, indeed, Benji.
And that is a very exciting thing as well. So the disc is checked back in. It's Blassman with it, looks to center. High stall, has no other option but to send it deep.
Oh,
Chris Harris all over it. He had position nice and early. Brings it down. Not a bad high stall punt, that one. And now Janssen to Harris. Squeezing it down this sideline for Collarts. Eventually, GRUT can find a way in, but you can see the exhaustion on the faces. They are really being made to work for every point by Salaspils.
And as well as the nerves, there's got to be a little bit of, exhaustion. There is nerves. You know, this is a big moment for the GRUT team. To say, coming out of a long 18 months, 2 years-ish of not being allowed to play. And of course, the Netherlands, one of the nations, we talked about the Latvians kind of going back to playing outdoors, being able to train as a team together quite early compared to some other ultimate nations here in Europe. The Netherlands, again, also lifted a little bit earlier, certainly than it was in the UK. Shout out to Sarah Sparks, who kindly gave us some assistance with player pronunciations for the GRUT side. But I remember watching, seeing that the climbing centres were open. They were able to get back into training. But this is a weird one because it's coming off that funny short season where you maybe haven't had the chance to kind of, gel together as a unit so much. So when the pressure's on, when the moment asks a lot of you, it can really kind of, get to you. And it's rare to see Floor Collarts pull quite that face.
Yeah, you're in that no man's land of you're looking in the big picture perhaps at Worlds next year, but also in the short term, You're in a European final, and if you're in a European final, you want to win it.
Well, that's why they're here. You don't get to the gold medal match without fighting so hard. Pick is going to be called, but Bonanza is just going to bring that one back. Because you have to catch it, right?
Yeah, and I think he showed a little bit of celebration as well, which adds some levity to the situation, which I like. He's going to get a slap of the hands with, it is Dan Epstein, number 13 jersey.
Yeah, just catching a little bit off the back of the stack as he came through. I think he did have a couple of yards, but fair pick call.
Now he plants and he grinds underneath instead. Feathers that flick out for Orlovsky's off the hands, off the back, and it nearly bounced right back into his clutches. But maybe that's the break that GRUT needed.
Well, you could see there a little bit of lack of clearing out, a bit loose offense from Salaspils meant that he had to really try and focus on keeping his body away from the other players on the field, not able to secure that grab.
The reset to Epstein. Swings to Aaron Mawson. Back to Epstein. Those two just playing a little bit of give-go in the backfield at the moment, waiting for something to open up further away. They're not seeing it. He seemed to think he was open, but the handlers did not agree. Mawson really leans down to get that low release off. Tushka. Dam on the near sideline, standing tall. Furrows the inside channel through to Mawson. This is looking calm and assured on the turn, have to say, from GRUT's D-line. Now Epstein out to space for Kulin. Cerula trying to get big on the mark, but not big enough. How many times have we seen it, not just this game, but this tournament? Lola Dam in the red zone is unstoppable, Hannah.
She really is, although that is perhaps not the best upline defense we've seen. Just wait to watch the replay back on that one, but I'm not a huge fan of the positioning. She comes in a little bit too soon, just kind of, you know, tries to play the diss, not the player, which, you know, if you can get there, yeah, but just, you can see, not quite your fingertips away, makes the bid, but perhaps could have angled a little bit more.
It's just, it's not impossible, but it's highly unlikely the chances of stopping Lola Dam one-on-one. That's why they isolate their head so often. You know, yeah. That's why she's always there, because she's so good at it.
It looked a lot better, actually, from the lower camera angle than I could see from the top one. But, yeah, it is hard to shut down Lola Dam. That is for sure. I certainly wouldn't want to match up against her. I haven't had the pleasure yet, but maybe one day, you know, if some sort of great grandmaster, something where maybe that will be on the same pitch.
We're going to take a little bit of a break here while the two sides take a timeout on the field. But don't worry, because we'll be back with you very, very soon.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, Ulti.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
our
work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
Welcome back to ulti.TV's coverage of XEUCF, the Extended European Championship Finals, here after a 2-year absence in Brugge in Belgium. And if you watched that commercial and you think you want to be involved, well, there are the simple things you can do on YouTube, which is like, sharing, subscribing. There's a bell that you ring for notifications. I don't know, I feel like I'm so out of touch nowadays. But as well as that, you can find the link to our Patreon page in the YouTube descriptions of all our videos. And if everyone who watches and enjoys the coverage is able to contribute even just a little bit, then we can do this more often on a bigger, grander scale and bring the coverage that these games deserve.
And speaking of the coverage, thank you all for bearing with us as our connection is kind of going in and out with the conditions causing technical issues. But Fear not, dear viewers. This stream is being recorded as well on our box, and if we need to re-upload it so you can see all of the points that are happening on the field. Apparently the 4G is currently favouring GRUT, Benji. So apologies to the Salaspils fans, but fear not, we will be keeping this in the box and making sure that even if you have to wait a little bit to see your heroes making plays out here on the fields, we will deliver, rest assured.
And ulti.TV will continue to broadcast games free, live and on demand. No paywalls here. Here's Bernans, this one blades nice and early, a bit of a sky ball. And enough of a tip on it from the GRUT defense to smack it to the turf. A chance for GRUT to open up a 3-point lead, their first since they took the game, 3-0 to start.
And if they can punch this one in, then I mean, it ain't over till it's over. Salaspils are so capable, but out here on this field, they're not executing at the usual level that we see them. They're getting some blocks. There have been some moments where we've, you know, they seem confident, but let's see what unfolds.
And I just had, on the replay, was just a bit more evidence to see who actually got that crucial tip on the disc. No surprise, but it was Lola Dam.
Damn, girl.
So Walt Janssen crossing over to play a little bit of D-line here, perhaps because they can see how tight the Latvians are pushing them. They want to create a little bit of separation between themselves and their European opponents. Down the far sideline, Matt Blasman. No more than 5 yards outside the end zone, 5 meters outside the end zone. I forget they use sensible measurements here. There's going to be a stoppage, I think, for a pick downfield. Going to remain in the hands of Janssen, I think, away from the play. Didn't affect it. Yeah, it is Gils Bedmanis on the mark. No one's quite ready for it to be checked in yet, although Bedmanis was clearly happy to go about his work. Everyone's just trying to, I think, resolve what their positions would be.
I have to say, Benji, I'm really enjoying the fact that we do have some spectators here at the fields.
Trying to enjoy the coverage, and that one is snuck through. Lola Dam is unstoppable, Hannah.
And that was just beautiful. A nice quiet moment, and GRUT putting it on display for us, the fans that have come to these rainy and soggy fields. Just absolutely breaks the force like a china doll. And just snap.
And Lola Dam continues to just dominate this game. A brilliant bookends, you know, getting a tip against a pack of receivers deep, regardless agenda. 2-on-2, Lola Dam comes on top, and then in the end zone, put Lola Dam at the front of the end zone. And Salaspils have not found a way to stop it, but then, to be fair, very few teams have over the years.
So looking at the shape of this game, GRUT came out so strong at the beginning with that 3-point run, responded to by a 3-point run from Salaspils. A little bit of trading, a break for the Netherlands team just before half, but at the moment, to say, GRUT really taking charge and taking control. It's a game of runs, but can the Latvians find the hold they need here and do the same back to GRUT?
Well, this is the thing. You know, you mentioned they need the run, and then you also mentioned that at the start of the game they did have the 3-point run, going 3-0 down to bring it level at threes. So it clearly is within their arsenal. The question is whether they can access it again.
I think it really is. If GRUT come out on the top of this one, I'm going to have to credit a little bit to the fact that they just have a few more bodies on their roster. The Salaspils players, perhaps a little bit of the old tiredness in the legs.
So the disc is checked back in, with the Latvians trying to chip away at this Dutch lead. Inside-out flick from Orlovskis, just beyond the defender, and a diving bid. Can't come up with it. Felt like that deserved a lot more from Santa Sinitsa. She gave all she could, and she looked like she landed reasonably hard as well, but the disc would just not nestle in there.
No, and also to add to my point, as we saw that one go so close, but just not quite. It's really been the tale so far of Salaspils. They've been putting some amazing shots up, but just not able to clasp them. They had such a harder game than GRUT coming into this. Their semi-final against Putty was an absolute dogfight.
As opposed to a relatively comfortable 15-6 victory under the floodlights on this field for GRUT. As on a high stall, Mosink trying to lash it deep. And, well, it was a valiant attempt. I thought that they were going to get nowhere near it. But Franca Tenkata, I mean, full credit for putting the effort in, even if it came to naught.
Well, you know, you're on the live stream, Ben. You got to go for it, right?
Give a little show for the fans at home. Olofskis this time going underneath, maybe after turning over with the big shot on the previous possession. This time they'll try a little bit, well, I was going to say a little bit more conservative, pick those open underneath passes, but a couple of players were in the same space, so were a couple of defenders, and they couldn't squeeze it through to Cerula.
This is what I mean about this, perhaps a little bit of exhaustion, both physically and mentally for Salaspils.
Brouwer fakes the over the top, but he doesn't release it. Instead, goes with the inside shot into the middle of the field for Elise Boss. This one is going to lead a player out in front, try to swipe a hand to snag it. It's Tenkata again, but she once more, it's too much for her to do.
Well, I feel like maybe GRUT have come out with a slightly looser line after getting their stars out to get that second break. Perhaps not able to, well, definitely not able to capitalize. That's a beautiful throw.
Well, if Sinitsa can't quite stick the catches deep, this time she's going to put them deep as well. And you mentioned if you lay out trailing edge to try and get the backside of the disc, sometimes you land on that shoulder, do yourself a little bit of a mischief. And I think that perhaps is what's happened here for Eriks Podgorskis. Come off the field, clutching his side.
Yeah, a little bit of hip flexor, I think. Maybe just a wee sprain.
What a snag that is behind from Janssen, who again has come back onto this D-line to marshal the offense after the turn from that injury sub. Janssen spots Mosink coming underneath. Well-travelled is Mosink, played across a variety of different teams and a variety of different nations, and bringing that wealth of experience and the depth of knowledge that he's learned into the GRUT setup now. Mosink finds Janssen. Down the sideline, Tenkata, a little bit of acrobatic footwork. No problems there. Here's Boss. This could be the real backbreaker. Mosink catches high, fakes the around continuation. A couple of players all flooding towards that open side channel. But there is a travel called on the release from that around break to Janssen, so it will go back into Mosink's clutches.
So this is so less than ideal for Salaspils right now. This D-line really tiring out the offensive top set for the Latvians.
Little throw and go. Gets the disc down the line, but Janssen's not quite in the end zone just yet. There's no one attacking that cone. Eventually, Boss comes free.
It's a pick.
Not even a pick. I think it's a foul. I think that Cyril is saying that maybe there was a little bit of a push-off there.
Excellent view of the hand signals there, Benji. And use of the hand signals from the players in the field.
I was going to say, it makes our job so much easier when we get those hand signals nice and clearly on early. And even better than us, it just communicates to your teammates as well exactly what's going on. Helps to overcome any potential language barriers there may be as well. So Janssen resets to Mosink. Just looking, eyeing up that end zone. The glint in his eye, but he can't find the space as of this moment. Here's Janssen, faking expressively with that flick, putting it out there, and Olofskis thought he got the disc. I think a lot of the crowd thought he got the disc, but Ten Harken thinks that there's a strip call. Well, he's called the strip. He doesn't think there's a strip call. He thinks he has been stripped, is what I meant to say.
There is a possible moment after the disc hits the floor where it sort of just, you know, hangs in the air, but full control. I'm not sure how I feel about that one, Benji.
Seeing it, it's tight. Yeah, I don't know whether he ever truly had control of it.
I wouldn't be unhappy with the contest on this one.
It looked like he did. Certainly don't think he got any of Ten Haken.
But the decision on the field is we're going to go back to the last neutral point of play. But you can't ask more really than that. It's a clean bid from the body. Just a discussion about whether or not there was grip on it. Although the disc is very slippery out here, is all I'll say.
Yeah, I love that he's putting his body on the line there, but also not making contact. And there is a certain philosophy in Ultimate that perhaps the disc doesn't lie.
I literally was going to say that, Benji. I'm sure all the Salaspils fans watching this stream are like singing that to Shakira's tune in their minds.
What, whenever, wherever?
No, hips don't lie.
I know, but
obviously.
but then that's not as funny. Trying to work it underneath through their women. Cerula pivots, looks downfield, doesn't like it. Bernans may instead be the player to open up the arm. No, he's going underneath as well. Gasinia dragged in on this near sideline is Orlovskis. Big reset all the way across the field. In the end, it has to be a sliding snag, brilliantly brought in by Eva Graber, who takes the timeout. And GRUT are taking that as a win because they are forcing Salaspils to expend all the energy they have.
You can see the facial expression there on Graber's face. This is just an absolute grind for the Salaspils players at the moment. But what a hero taking out that trash as we see another replay of that slightly adventurous bid, but got to do it on the stream, Franka Tenkats, as we hear that 5 minutes are remaining on the game clock here. Look at that once again. Just go into work and being like, okay, I need a break and I want something different. So coming out of this timeout, we have GRUT sitting pretty on that 3 on the bounce, 2 breaks ahead. Because of course, having started this game on offense, if it ends up just being traded out, traded for breaks, traded for holds,
GRUT
will win.
Yeah, GRUT will not care one iota. They break their huddle. Salaspils do the same. Someone's carrying a very fetching rainbow umbrella over the top.
But this also would be, I believe, Benji, both these teams have 1 European gold title to their names thus far. So this is for the second for either side. So, as I say, it's a complete replay of last time. And last time Salaspils came out ahead. But
15-12 final.
Yeah, and at the end, they really, really did just find their groove, find their rhythm. Some of the catches, that one that Kublitzki that immediately ended up on our highlight reel with just her tiptoes millimeters inbounds, complete full flop, no concern for her body.
It is obscene.
Yeah, if you've not seen that, get your eyes on it. It's fantastic.
But it feels like at the moment the Latvians will need more plays like that if they are to win this game. Orlovskis puts it deep on a dime for Tom Zabeltinch. That is some way to get back on the board after the timeout.
And maybe that is the start of their momentum that they're going to need. Their O-line's been out there for a really long time, Benji. But I feel like probably they're going to be, obviously, I mean, I say probably, it's almost certain that they're going to be shortening their lines at this stage to make sure that the top end of their roster is out there under the drips of rain. You can see Ned Garvey there hopping around, the mustachioed man.
It's a strong look.
It's definitely a look.
As in, it makes him, I feel like he's trying to look like a classic Victorian strongman.
Oh, I quite like that, actually. Get that man a sort of barbell with like the round weights on
and
it.
Like the leopard print.
Yeah, exexactly. Should we say leotard or just tank top?
I'd go leotard, all in one.
It's very trendy. I tell you what I really want right now at this field site in Bruges is to have one of those all-in-one romper suits that you see tiny humans in. I want them to start making them.
Or just like people my size?
Well, no. You are pocket pocket, your travel size, Benji.
How big are your pockets? I thought women didn't have pockets.
They're invisible. It's what we catch men in.
Oh, I see. That's how that works. Here's Tom Blasman. Underneath to Walt Janssen, who's getting a lot of time on the pitch now. Putting it deep. Kulartz tracks it down brilliantly. Just that clap catch out in front. Kulartz clearly is hyped. 13-10, that 3-point advantage restored for GRUT.
Well, we saw earlier in the game, actually, no, I take it back. We didn't see a hold between the two break runs. So Salaspils unable to keep the break train running here. A miscommunication, I think. That's we have seen Floriculert actually sitting in the hand spot, kind of taking control of the offense for GRUT so far in this game. So actually seeing her kind of just going deep straight out of the blocks.
I think Heron Terra is just peeking in the backfield a little bit, maybe expecting a swing, trying to time some movement, perhaps to stop a break side cut. And that is all the window that Walt Janssen needs to put another pinpoint shot out in front of Floriculert.
Well, one of the original big stars for GRUT, putting her team in charge. 13-10, 3-point stretch. But that's not a lot of feathers in the cushion. You could still see it. The zipper opened up, and the Latvians ravage the lead.
Well, the Latvians look like they mean business. They did not come here. They did not come here to mess around. High grab is made on the sideline. Bedmanis goes underneath. Orlovskis puts one out in front for Santa Sinica. 2 assists and now 4 goals. Sinica's having a hell of a game as well.
She is all over the stats board. That is another one to her tally. I think she now has 3 goals and 2 assists.
I mean, she's just having a barnstormer of a game.
I'll tell you what, I said that we hadn't seen much of the action of Floriculert in the end zone, but looking across on the other side of the rosters, Floriculert has 4 goals to 1 assist.
So we're just talking between us. I was trying to work out exactly when the hooter for the cap came on. 90 minutes on the nose is when it happens. It happened after the point was scored. The terminology says that the next point starts as soon as the previous point finishes, which sounds obvious. But it means that you don't have to wait to pull for the point to technically begin. So we will finish this point, add 1 to that, and use that as the score cap. So if GRUT score, it's 14-11, game to 15. And if Salaspils could break, it's 13-12, game to 14 here, with the 90 minutes elapsed.
Well, this is the moment for the Latvians. They need this one so badly to give themselves a smaller hill to climb, but GRUT will come out with their offense, and we'll see what they can generate.
Ben Orr again looking for Janssen on the sideline. Again, balletically towing it in bounds. Orlovskis comes up to apply the pressure on the mark to Chris Harris. Harris goes underneath to the ever-reliable Anna Minard. Squaring up, looking inside. Brilliant inside shot. Continuation to Orr. One more cut into the end zone. Textbook ultimate that. Just dump and swing, break, and then continuation. Easy goal in the end for Chris Harris. 14-11, game to 15 here, Hannah.
Well, at the moment, it really is GRUT's game. It's theirs to give away at this juncture or just to simply put to bed. Look at this inside shot. Beautiful stuff. Perfectly finds in stride Janssen. And that's exactly what we were talking about before. That making, I mean, this is obviously a beautiful break, but making that centering pass before you expose the break side makes it a lot easier. Yes, you've got to make the extra catch, but it's such a less, well, just trying to think of the word for it. It's a less risky throw. They're all secure catches. It's so just simple. That's the word. It's simple. Simple textbook offense from
I love the timing of the cuts, because the easy thing is you see it develop and you make that cut nice and early, and by the time the player's pivoting around for it, there's already a defender in the space. So they're just delaying that long enough, so they're still kind of leading the player there, and of course with the defender focusing on taking away that open side. It's got a very difficult task.
You see there, getting a hold of the disc. Of course, the European Ultimate Federation having decided to take on the rule of the gender of the pitch, of the most gender, the 4 players will be pulling, and we see down there getting us underway.
So that one under very, very tight pressure. Cerula snags it. Uncontested foul from Suzanne Slobby, just kind of landed on her opponent there. Cerula has experienced, obviously, gold with Salaspils, but also heartbreak in the European final when the Swiss lost to Ireland at EUC in Hungary a couple of years ago, as Bernand has absolutely unleashed a howitzer in stride to Orlovskis. Well, Salaspils are not going to go down quietly, Hannah.
No, they certainly are. They will fight till the very last in this game. As you say, Cyril, the silver medalist. The Swiss women's team, I feel like at the tournament in Győr, did do a job of playing the bracket really well.
You can only beat what's in front of you.
Absolutely.
And now, what's in front of Salaspils? 3 breaks on the bounce against GRUT. There have been easier tasks to win finals, I'll say that much.
Yeah, they've managed 2 so far in this game. Can they do it with 1 extra? I don't know. If GRUT's O-line comes out and performs and executes the way they did in the previous point, this is going to be over. If you're Salaspils, I feel like you've got to come out with something different, a defensive look that they've not seen. Maybe a force middle, maybe a force out, maybe even some kind of zone.
Who knows? You mean you've got a lot of athletic, rangy defenders who can cover grounds. So maybe you can bait those windows, just show a little bit of something and then snaffle it away. Perhaps that's an option. Klobitska has the disc in her hands, getting ready to pull. Winds up, goes with that rolling backhand. That'll skim across this turf where Menard feels it. Throws to Wart, or underneath to Janssen. He knows he's got those flick hucks if he needs them, but he goes back to Ort instead. Ort looking, there's the swing and the reset to Menard. Doesn't like it, takes it at the second time of asking though. Interestingly, Lola Dams come over to the O-line for the first time all game.
Well, you want to finish this one out. You do not want to let Salaspils have even but a look in it.
And here is Lola Dam. High release backhand to Harris for the win. GRUT are once more European champions.
Yeah, could not have asked more from the defense to try and prevent that bit at the end, but it just was too good, too simple, too patient, and well-deserved for GRUT. They reverse the scoreline almost from the last time these 2 teams met in the European Championship final and take it 15-12.
15-12, Salaspils won on the airport fields of Kola, on the outskirts of Venice, and now 15-12, GRUT with some measure of revenge to take home another European crown. And they can focus now with their club season wrapped up in 2021, looking ahead to 2022 and the World Ultimate Club Championships out in Ohio.
Well, it's been an absolute sensation to watch. GRUT just looking that little bit extra throughout the game. There have been some great moments for Salaspils, but you know what, Benji? I cannot wait until the next time we get to see these 2 teams out here on the stream in front of us, giving us all the delight in the world.
It never disappoints. Salaspils GRUT can never and will never disappoint whatever happens. And that will do it from our coverage here of the mixed final in a very wet Brugge here in Belgium. For all of our ulti.TV crew, for Lorcan Murray doing the stats behind us, for the one and only Hannah Pendlebury, I've been Benji Rees, and we will see you on the other side for the open final.
ulti.TV.